All right, what's going on, y'all? Back with my weekend review. This review will not be 5 minutes, so I don't have that on here. I have my list of topics today because I'm pretty sure this is going to last longer than 5 minutes. So, just some things that happened throughout the week that I want to share, and then you guys can always leave comments or whatever. If you're trolling, I ain't got time. But if you have valid comments, go ahead, leave them. We can talk. But NFL just started back up, and of course there were some protests out there for some of the games, and it's just it amazes me that it doesn't matter what kind of protest we do, there's going to be complaints. Taking a knee, being silent, holding up a fist is not enough. I mean, if we go out and walk the streets and protest peacefully, that's still, I guess we can't do that either. If we go riot and tear up some stuff, we can't do that either. It's like, what is a good peaceful protest? Like, I don't understand. And the fact that it is not about the military and what it's about police brutality. Yet, no matter how many times you say it, people still say, well, I'm supporting my troops and all of this stuff, man. I'm from the military. It doesn't bother me. I know what it's about. So stop trying to make the narrative be about something that it is not. Okay? So that's my thought on that one. There was a shooting of 2 cops out in LA, and the sheriff called out LeBron James and asked him to add money to the pot to find the suspect that did the shooting. Now, I don't have a problem with him adding money, but if that LA sheriff hasn't come out and shown support for black people, brown people, police brutality, I haven't done any research myself, but if he hasn't done that himself, then he has no right to tell LeBron James to add to the pot. LeBron James does not have to do that. Again, like I said, if the sheriff hasn't done that, then LeBron James doesn't need to do anything. But if he has, then I think that there's a healthy medium that we can meet there. But just to come out and say somebody should just put some money to find a suspect in a crime just because he's LeBron James, that's not cool. So I didn't really appreciate that. Next thing, there's a lot of stereotypes out there, right? That all police are bad, and that all black people and brown people commit crimes. And because of those stereotypes, all groups look bad, right? All white people are racist, and all these other stereotypes, man, they make all of us look bad. But they also create this false narrative that if you support one, you can't support the other. What I mean by that is that there's a lot of us who absolutely have no problem with the police. We have a problem with police brutality and bad cops. But with that being said, it doesn't mean that we don't support black lives either. You can support police and you can support black lives. What I have issues with is when I see people who constantly support the police but never support us, never support black people, never support brown people, and these are supposed to be my friends, right? Or your acquaintances, or my Facebook friends, because we know a lot of those people aren't real friends. But it amazes me to see somebody make a post just about police, but not about us. Like, you can do both. I don't know if you know that. You don't have to pick a side. You can say, I don't agree with police brutality, but I support the police, and I also support black and brown people. You can do that. So, don't think that you can't. So, I don't know where that came from, but it seems to be this huge thing that goes along with politics as well, right? With politics, if you support the Democrats or if you support the Republicans, then you're going to support everything they do and say. That's not the right way to do it. Just because somebody is a Republican and you're a Republican, you don't have to agree with everything that they say or do. It's just stupid. I don't do that. That's why we're in the situation we're in, and we're so divisive right now as a country, because everybody wants to stay on one thing and not focus on the facts when it comes to everything. Speaking of facts, let's talk about 45 real quick. He downplayed COVID, right? So, again, I wanted to see his reaction once the information came out, because he's always quick to say fake news, right? But I watched him. They asked him about it. He didn't say fake news. He actually reiterated why he did it, which was very stupid to me. For him to say what he said. Downplaying COVID is one thing, but then the fact that you knew it was a deadly virus, you downplayed it. You downplayed it to everyone, right? So then, behind the scenes, you knew what was going on. You knew how deadly it was. But whenever the governors wanted to shut things down, you had something to say to those governors. Whenever businesses wanted to shut down and schools wanted to shut down, you had a problem with those people shutting things down. And because of that, it makes you look terrible because you knew how deadly the virus was because you said that initially. And you didn't want to alarm people. So not alarming people is one thing, but being irresponsible and telling governors not to shut down, businesses not to shut down, is another, and that is inexcusable. It's irresponsible, and it's crazy to me that these things happen and people have nothing to say about it. He clearly said he did it. He reiterated that he did it and said it wasn't fake news. I guess, man, I don't know. When it comes to that, what happens when whatever Trump says, he has his Trump supporters who are going to follow everything that he says. Then you have Republicans who are going to follow everything that he says. Then you have some Republicans who aren't going to follow everything that he says. And then you have everybody else who's going to do the total opposite of what he says, right? So when the virus came out, most of us, a lot of us started wearing masks. Like, that's common sense, so we started wearing masks. Unfortunately, there was a lot of Trump supporters and a lot of Republicans who said we're not wearing masks because the president says we don't need masks and it's not real and blah, blah, blah. All along, he knew that it was a deadly virus. And so the numbers are pretty high, correct? Now, let's rewind and let's say he came out and said that it was a deadly virus and that we're going to take precautions and we're going to wear a mask and we're going to do better. I honestly believe that we'd be in a better place than we are now. The numbers and also with the division. You got people fighting in Walmart because they don't want to wear a mask, going in places destroying Targets because they don't want to wear a mask, and all along this guy told a lie and said that it wasn't, just to make sure people didn't panic. So instead of creating panic, you created division, and you actually could have just made a much better and sound decision to let everybody know, and then we could have took precautions. We probably would have been over this by now. But hey, I'm not a politician. I don't know what I'm talking about, I guess. Then when it comes to the division, man, if you want to talk to somebody and say, hey, the Republicans this, the Democrats that, Black Lives Matter this, all this other nonsense, don't talk about the media did this and the media did that, and then come to the table with a YouTube video or another piece of media to try to combat what you're trying to say. Because if you're saying media isn't any good, then why is your media any better than my media? Or vice versa, why is my media better than your media? If you got a problem with someone and you want to discuss it, then discuss it with them directly on the phone, on Zoom, or something like that. Don't just send somebody a video and think that that's going to be better, that's going to suffice when you just said the media is terrible. Well, your media is terrible, my media is terrible, it's all terrible. Let's just have a talk, right? As friends, if we're friends. All right, so another topic that I saw that I wanted to talk about was two supposed burglary suspects who were stopped by the police, and they were out for a jog, right? Two black guys, of course, out for a jog, two totally different states, totally different neighborhoods. For some reason, they fit the description of a burglary in that neighborhood. The first guy was wearing a neon green shirt and some shorts, and he fit the description of a burglary suspect running in a neighborhood. Second guy, white tank top and some shorts, running in a neighborhood, a burglary suspect. So what do I think happened is somebody saw them running and called the cops, just because they could, because they knew they can get them in trouble, and they could probably, honestly, I've seen people get shot for worse, right? So, that's the type of things that we have to deal with as black people in this country, brown people in this country, people who aren't white. People can say what they want to say and try to make up some false narrative, but the truth is the truth, man, and we deal with it all the time. People don't want to admit it, but we do. Other subject that I wanted to talk about was definitely reach out and start talking to people who don't look like you. have the same background as you. People aren't the same race as you, same gender as you, and just see what they have going on before you just start making assumptions based on what a stereotype is about somebody. And we all do it. We all gotta do better. And just sitting here trying to think that, for us who are Christians, it kills me. You just think, well, we gotta be unified, and God sees us all as the same, and yeah, He does, but other people don't, man. Like, you can't just sit there and think that, well, everything is going to be all right. No, you have to put in work, man. And you can't just sit there and think that God is going to do something if you don't do some work yourself, right? If you want race relations to be better, do something about it. If you want your country to be better, do something about it. Don't just sit there and talk about it and say that there is no, and tear down people who have issues with this country and just saying that what they're saying isn't true and it's a false narrative and all that other nonsense, man. Talk to people, get to know them, see what they're really going through. And your narrative, that narrative might change for you. So, I mean, I'm going to get off that subject for now, but it was pretty emotional after I saw what 45 had to say the other day, so I wanted to kind of calm down and put my thoughts into words and just kind of share with y'all. So the last thing I want to talk about with football season being back on is my Dallas Cowboys, who looked exactly the same as they looked last year. Sucky. So I hope your teams, support your teams. Hope they do good. Hope my team can do better the next couple of weeks. But if they played last week, it's going to be a long season. Now, y'all take it easy. Have a good one. Maybe I'll be back with 5 minutes next week. This was about 13 minutes long, I think. So take it easy.